All right, everybody, welcome. I'm really happy to have you here. And my goal today is to help you get one step closer to understanding that just because Chinese, Mandarin specifically, is a little different from the language that we're used to, it's not hard. It doesn't have to be hard. Yes, we have to cover a lot of overall distance in creating the frameworks in our head for how we produce the sounds of Mandarin. But as it turns out, we actually, when we speak English, we make at least 90% of the sounds that are used in Mandarin on a daily basis. We just don't know that we do it. So what I want to do with you here today, I want to take you through first an overview of tones, and then an overview of the structure of syllables when speaking Mandarin, because it's not too difficult. Every syllable has a meaning. Every syllable gets assigned a character, and sometimes a character alone is its own word, or a syllable alone is its own word. And other times we take syllables and pair them up. Sometimes it can be 2, sometimes it can be 3, even 4 to make a full word or concept. But everything starts from the syllable level. For example, the phrase or the syllable da, which is D-A, 4th tone. Da means big. Another one, jia, which is J-I-A, 1st tone. Jia, 回家 means to go home. Jia means home or family. So we have da, which is big, jia, which is family. We take them and put them together, we get da jia, which means everybody, everyone. If you're speaking to a group, you say 大家好, which is how you say hello everyone. So that's an example of how we can take individual syllables, each with their own meaning, and pair them up. Now, before we can get there, what we need to do, before we can even move on to words or anything like that, what we need to do, and it's important that we really get nailed down, is pronunciation. Pronunciation of all this, well, not all, but most of the syllables in Pinyin, because there are 1 or 2 that may take quite a while. There's one in particular that took me a couple of years to really get. Now, some people were better at the early stage pronunciation than I was, but some of them just take a little while, and they take repetition, they take practice. Because in many ways, even though we're technically studying a language studying is its own physical activity. We're not just thinking and writing things down. Language has a physical, performative aspect to it. Like, we're actually doing something physical when we speak. We either see a person speak and we hear it, our brain puts some things together, and then we actually have to move the muscles of our chest, our throat, our face to make sound. Or we read something, and maybe we have to then say it out loud. So our eyes connect to our brain, then again connect to the muscles of our chest, throat, and face to make the correct sounds. So in order to do this, the most important thing that we have to do, we have to get done as the first step in learning Mandarin, we have to get all of the correct pronunciations for all of the possible syllables in the language memorized. And not just memorized where you can close your eyes and you can think hard about it and then it will pop up. No, it needs to be drop of a hat, reflexive, like subconsciously memorized to that extent. And this is possible. This also does not require a ton of just sitting down and hammering books and hammering books and hammering books. What it requires is, as with any other physical activity that we're new to, like a sport, we need to sit down and just work with it, play with it, try things out, and see what works for us. This is where classroom comes in a lot of ways, and this is also where just walking around and thinking in your own head can be very, very helpful. Ultimately, you all are going to have to come up with your own answers of what works for you to make these sounds fit and be comfortable in your head and in your mouth and the way you say them. You're each going to have your own answers or solutions for what makes it so that you can produce the most native-like pronunciation, because that is what we're aiming at. We're not aiming at so-so pronunciation, because the more, the closer you can get to native pronunciation, the easier your conversations are going to be, because the person you're speaking with doesn't experience any friction in listening to what you say. So I'm going to share with you all of the little tips and tricks that I've learned, first through 17 years of studying this language myself, using it through 10 years of living in different parts of China, and then also through many, 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 many hundreds of conversations with fellow learners who started a little bit later than me and had questions about how they themselves could refine or hone pronunciation of words in different contexts. The number one thing to understand and remember here is it's a little different, but if you understand me, what I'm saying right now, and you're capable of speaking approximately the same way I am speaking right now in terms of tone and accent, and if you understand American English, you already have most of the framework for speaking Chinese properly built into your brain. It's just a matter of finding the right parts and pulling them out and emphasizing them a little differently. So that's what I want to work with you on today. I'm going to show you my tricks for emphasizing these different parts of words, isolating them, pulling them out, and learning how to connect them with our intention to speak Chinese. Okay? So let's get going. First, before we even move on to pronunciation and learning how to move in and out of these different syllables that may or may not be precisely like words we already say in English already, I want to get the most difficult thing out of the way. Lots of people get very much in their own head, meaning they get intimidated by the idea that Chinese is a tonal language. Yes, this is true, but it is not. It is a new concept, but it's not a difficult concept. It takes a little bit of practice, and yes, you will spend time on tones, but like anything else, with a few, not with a few repetitions, but with a couple months of repetition and exposure and just patience with yourself, you'll become very comfortable with tones. So there are 4 tones we need to worry about and we need to think about. There's, surprisingly, first tone, second tone, third tone, and fourth tone. To be able to teach these to you, I need to have a sample syllable that we can go through. And the one I'm going to use is simply M-A, which is pronounced ma, just like your grandma. So M-A. M is pronounced just like M is pronounced in English. And then A is pronounced like A-H, like when you go to the dentist. And the dentist says, okay, open wide, say ah. So ma is the syllable we're going to be using. And right there, the way that I said ma, I'm using first tone. So first tone is, from an English speaker's perspective, is kind of a sing-songy tone. It's a little bit higher than we normally speak. And that is how you will know you are speaking first tone the right way. It's a high, flat tone. And you'll know you're doing it correctly because you'll feel a little goofy doing it. You'll feel like you have been instantaneously transported back to your early elementary school days, being in chorus or choir practice, just singing with your music teacher as a little kid. At least I always do, even to this day, when I say first tone. I'm used to it, and I'm used the reflex of being a little embarrassed of singing in front of people comes and goes in a tenth of a second, but it's still there even to this day, 17 years later. So first tone, the sing-songy tone, high, flat, ma, ma, ma. Okay, great job. Next, we have second tone. Now, second tone is a tone that starts low in pitch and then rises much higher to approximately where first tone is, even a little bit beyond that. What that sounds like is ma, ma, ma. Now, how can we relate to this? I want you to be able to relate to every single one of these tips that I'm giving you. So the way that I relate second tone to new students is I call it the Scooby-Doo tone. If any of you have ever seen the cartoon Scooby-Doo, when he runs into a problem or he's worried or confused, he has a sound that he makes. Then he goes, "Hmm?" And you'll notice that is also a low to high rising sound. So if you can make the Scooby-Doo tone, pretend that you're confused and you don't know what Shaggy just said, "Hmm?" You just made a sound using second tone. So listen one more time. Scooby-Doo. Hmm? Second tone in Mandarin. Ma. Ma. Great job. So, first tone, high flat, ma. Second tone, low to high, rising. Ma. Ma. Great job. Now, for third tone, we need to put our Spiderman hats on. And we need to think back to Peter Parker's editor, Jonah Jameson, the grumpy guy who sits in an office, who's always chomping on a cigar and is always grumbling, if not yelling about something. In particular, he really likes to grumble. He always sits back in his chair and goes, "I don't know about this, Parker." The way that he does that initial grumble, going like that, he's basically making third tone in Chinese. Third tone starts very low, goes basically as low as your voice can go, stays there for an instant, and then picks up a little bit higher than you started. So what it sounds like with ma is ma, ma. One more time, ma. Now you can hear that my voice starts very low, lower than I would speak English normally, and drops all the way down to the point where you can hear my voice crackling. It fries out, and then I pick it back up. So, ma, ma. There you go. That's third tone. Great job. So, we have first tone, which is high flat, like you're in, it's a high flat tone, like you're in chorus class in elementary school. Second tone is the Scooby-Doo tone, ma. Third tone is the low, grumbly Jonah Jameson tone, ma. Now, fourth tone is oftentimes the hardest one for native speakers of English to get comfortable with. It is a sharp falling tone from high to low. And when said the right way, when you're first starting out, you might feel like you're yelling at somebody. I know I certainly did, and I shied away from fourth tone for a couple of weeks before I got comfortable saying it, because I liked my classmates, I liked my teachers. I didn't want to yell at them. And I was a little hesitant around fourth tone. Don't be. It's okay. Be forceful with it, because the good thing about being forceful, if you over-exaggerate something, we can always pull it back a little bit. But if you don't put enough emphasis into the concept, you won't ingrain it, and you'll always be hesitant around it. So don't be hesitant. It's a high to low, sharp falling tone. So listen. Ma, ma, ma. Okay? So you're not yelling, okay? I'm not yelling at you. This is the way that fourth tone is said. Ma, okay? High to low, sharp falling tone. Ma. All right, there we go. We have just gone through all of the tones for Mandarin. Okay, fantastic. So now we've gone through all the tones. I don't expect you to know or memorize any of those. I just want you to know that for the rest of this, I will be using first tone as the sample tone for all of the syllables that we go through. This is the one that, in my experience, is the most unnatural with students when they're starting out, because we're used to, in English, we're used to up and down inflection in the way we speak. We're not used to holding a pitch. That's not something we normally do. So I'm going to be practicing and using first tone in all of these examples that I give you. And I would like you to do the same. If you get first tone down, first tone is basically setting the ceiling for where your register is going to be in Mandarin. And it's important to set that ceiling. It's important to set where first tone is ma, up high, and then later on we will work on setting third tone, ma, but we all kind of naturally know how to find that because we know how to just go as low as our voice goes. So we want to set first tone, ma. So I'm going to be using first tone with you on all of these syllables, okay? So how are syllables created in Mandarin? How are they put together in Pinyin, in this new language that we're learning? Well, there are two concepts you need to know. Basically, there's a core central sound to each syllable. It could be a vowel, a combination of vowels, or a combination of vowels with an N or an NG at the end. And that could be the entire syllable. This could be a, an, ang, ong, okay? Those on their own can be entire words. Those are complete syllables. But then, in a lot of instances, we add a consonant up front. This could be F, B, D, T, so it could be ba, pa, ma, fa. What I'm gonna go through with you now, first, before we start adding consonants up front, is I'm gonna go through all of the central syllable sounds, all of the core vowels and then vowel endings that we use when speaking Mandarin. This is the foundation of everything that we're going through. Learning these sounds is the core of everything you will ever do in Mandarin. We need to get these sounds etched very deeply into your brain so that you can basically have your eyes closed and you're practically saying them in your sleep. When we get to that point, we've done our job. Getting there, though, doesn't have to be that difficult because, like I said before, you actually already know how to make a lot of these sounds. We just need to pull them out. So I have a ton of examples here that I'm going to take you through, and I hope that what I have to share with you will help you see that, in fact, you do already have most of the linguistic knowledge you need to speak Mandarin. You know how to make all the sounds, or 97% of the sounds. I'll teach you the rest, but along the way, I want you to know that this can be a familiar language. Don't tell yourselves that this is weird or hard. It's a little different, and things are ordered a little differently. But if you understand me right now, you can speak this language, and you can do it while having fun. It's not going to be stressful. This is a great exercise in moving towards making tremendous friends for the rest of your life. So have fun with this, please. All right, let's get going. So we just went through the syllable ma, so I would like to start with A. Like I said before, A is just said like AH in English. Ah, like going to the dentist. Okay, sit down, open your mouth, open wide, say ah. So ah. Next, we have I, which is said like the English word I, like me, myself, and I. The first person pronoun, I. So it's just I. That's all you have to think. You see AI, just think first person pronoun. I, the letter I. Next we have AO. And this is said like ow, or oh. Supposed to be using first tone. Oh. This is basically like saying, ow, that hurts, but it's a little more open, and it's not, doesn't have kind of that lippy movement at the end. We don't go ow, it's ow, ow. You see my lips come together, and the sound stops as they come together. So, ow, ow. Okay, next we have an, and this is on. This is that open wide ah sound, ah, just with an N at the end. But if you're looking for a word that has on in it, well, I hope that you like driving cars really quickly, because the way you can find that is by saying the word, the Autobahn, the German highway with no speed limits. So the on at the end of that is exactly the way that we pronounce an. On, think of AHN in English. On. Okay, and for our last A syllable, what we have is ANG, which is the exact same thing as AN we just did. We're just using an NG ending. So instead of on, we have ong. It's the exact same thing. It's ah, open wide, ah, plus an NG ending. Ong. All right, great job. You now know how to say all of the A vowel cores to Mandarin syllables. Next, we move on to E. Now with E standalone is a new sound. We make this sound in English, but we don't make it with words. The way we do make it, however, is if you think back to a time when you may have been running around with friends, maybe on a field, maybe on a sidewalk, but you're playing a game of some sort and you accidentally trip and you fall and you go whoosh, and you land smack hard on the ground, landing with your stomach first, and you go ugh. Well, that sound, the ugh, is how we say E. Now, it's not low and it's not that forceful, but we just have to add a tone to it. So it's So again, the way you can find this is think back to a time where you fell smack hard on the ground and you really bounced off your stomach hard to the point where maybe it even knocked a little wind out of you. And went, ugh! That's what it is. Okay. Next we have EI. And EI is just pronounced like the name of the letter A, or a long A. It's just A. So like the back half of the English word yay. A. So if I just say yay with the first tone, yay, and I chop the Y off now, A. That's exactly what we're looking for. It's just a long A said with the first tone. A. Great job. So when you see EI, just think the letter A. The name of the letter A, the long A. A. Okay. Next, we have EN. EN is said like UN in English. So that was an unexpected outcome. The way we say that UN up front, unexpected, well, that's the pronunciation we're looking for. EN is just said like UN. So we take that, add a first tone to it, That was unexpected. Great job. EN is just pronounced like UN. Great job. Next, we have ENG. Now, just like before, all we have to do is swap out an N for an NG. So we had from unexpected. Now, we just pop in an NG there instead. So said like UNG. Like if you go to a hospital, they'll have different sections for your heart and then one for your lungs. So, the back part of the word lung, U-N-G. Ung. So anytime you see E-N-G, all you have to think is U-N-G. Great job. Okay, now the last one. E-R. E-R isn't said like we would think it would be said, which you just say We actually have to say the name of the letter R. E-R is pronounced R, R, R. Now you will mainly, almost exclusively, see this said with a second tone, R, R, but just for practice, we're staying with first tone. R, so the name of the letter R. R, what are you talking about? R, okay? Great job. Now we move on to what I think is my favorite one to teach, which is an O, just a standalone O. A standalone O is pronounced like an O is pronounced with a New Jersey accent. Now, for those of you who haven't been to New Jersey, or you haven't seen My Cousin Vinny, first of all, you should go watch My Cousin Vinny because it's a great movie. But O, in certain words with a New Jersey accent, develops a W quality to it. And the perfect word for this is the word coffee. Now, in a normal American accent, we just say coffee. But in a New Jersey accent, it's said coffee. Coffee. So that O, that is exactly how we pronounce O, just a standalone O. In Pinyin, it's O, O. So, picture a New Jersey accent. Do your very best to produce a New Jersey accent. Coffee, sidewalk, chalk, that roly W vowel. Coffee, sidewalk, chalk. That is how the O is pronounced. Just think O, O, okay? O. That's what we're looking for. Now next, we have OU. Whenever you see OU, you just have to think a long O, or the name of the letter O. It's just O, O. OU is just a long O. O. Okay, and now, you might be noticing a bit of a pattern. We have ONG. We just take that long O, and tack on an NG to it. Becomes ong, ong. Okay? So, OU is O. Now, we take that sound and just add an NG to it. Ong, ong. Okay. Now, we are moving on to the ever flexible I. I in Pinyin is the most versatile letter, certainly the most versatile vowel you will run into. I can have 3 sounds, and I'm just talking about a standalone I. First, and the main one you will run into, is it will be said like E. It'll be said like an E-E, like 2 E's put next to each other, or the name of the letter E. It's just E, E, so E. Now, next, it will be said when following Z, C, or S, it will actually just be said like a hum or a little rumble in your throat, like a buzz, which will be so I can't even, I don't know if I can make this sound without having a consonant up front, but for Z-I, for example, it becomes Z, or S-I, it becomes S. You hear it's just a hum in my mouth, just S, S. This is one that doesn't really exist in English. And it's going to take a little time to work on, and it will feel a little goofy while you're doing it. That's totally fine. It's totally fine. Expect yourself to be goofy, or to feel goofy. It's good to be a little goofy while you're learning. Have fun with it. This is a totally new thing, and I have to say this too, enjoy it please, because you only get to do it once. You only get to learn Pinyin and you only get to learn Mandarin for the first time once. Have fun with it. Find people you enjoy being around. Enjoy the process with them, because this is a process of discovering friendship. I guarantee you that. If you come to this process from a place of friendship and a place of excitement, you will find lots and lots and lots of great friendship as a result of learning to speak Mandarin. I promise you that. Because that has been my experience. That is why I keep speaking it. That is why I keep studying. Now, 17 years later, now having lived in China for 10 years, completed a major, all sorts of things, it's worth it. It's really worth it. So if you ever run into any syllables at all that make you feel a little goofy, that's okay. Because I guarantee you your classmates also have ones that make them feel goofy. Just go through it. Become comfortable with feeling a little out of place and feeling like you're doing something that's a little different, because you are. Mandarin is not English. It's not meant to be English. It is its own thing. And that feeling of being a little uncomfortable is natural, because you are doing things that your brain thinks are breaking some rules, but it's not. You're just learning some new rules. So have fun with the process. So back to I. I is, when following Z, C, or S, it is just kind of a hum. I have to say the whole syllable. I haven't ever successfully said just the I sound alone. S, S. You hear that, you can hear a bit of a vibration behind my teeth when I say it. S. So first tone, S. That is the second sound that I can make. The third sound that it indicates is actually an R sound, believe it or not. They made these decisions. I don't know how they came to this idea, but these are the decisions they made way back when Pinyin was first put together. But it can become an R sound when following ZH, CH, and SH. It becomes an R, and it's meant to be said like an R in English. So that is zh, ch, and sh. So when you see ZHI, you should think JR. The way you would pronounce JR is zh, okay? Zh. CHI, think CHR. Ch, ch. And lastly, SHI, think SHR. Sh. Or the English word, yeah, sure, why not? Except it's not sure, it's sure, yeah, sure, when you say it quickly. So sure, sure. Okay? So once again, I, just stand alone, the letter I. When you see it in Pinyin, will mostly be pronounced like a double E. E, E. Second, it will be kind of a humming, buzzing sound, like S or Ts. And lastly, it'll be said like an R. Zh, ch, sh. Okay? Next, we move on to I-A. And I-A is pronounced like Y-A-H. Ya. Ya. If you think about it, we break those two sounds down. We already know how to say the A. So the ah, open wide, we're at the dentist. Ah. And then we just learned I is mostly said like a double E. E. If we take those two sounds and stick them together, we go from E to ah, ya, and then we speed it up a little bit, ya, ya. And we speed it up a little more, we get ya. So that's why when you see IA, we're actually saying all the letters the way that they're intended to be said when they stand alone. We just go through it really quickly. So IA is said like Y-A-H. Ya. Ya. Okay. Now we have I-A-O. based on what we just went through, we already know how to say I-A-O, which is pronounced like oh, almost like ow, I hurt my knee, but more closed, and we don't have that final lippy end to it. So oh. Now if we add I in front of it, we get yo, yo. So if you're looking for an English word that this will most closely represent, think about the exclamation yowzers, like wow, yowzers, that's really cold. The front half of that, yo, yowzers, yo. Okay, so I-A-O is said like Y-O-W, yo. Okay, next we have I-E. Now, E in this situation is not the falling flat on the ground, oh, just hurt my stomach sound. It is said like a short E in English, eh, eh. So we go from a long E to a short E, E, eh, yeah. Long E to a short E, yeah, yeah. Okay, great job. Next, we are on to I-O-U. Now, again, we know O-U is a long O, just like the name of the letter O. O, O. And we need to, again, add that Y sound in front of it. So it's like a friend you haven't seen in a very long time. Say, yo, I haven't seen you in so long. How are you doing? Yo. It's just like the English exclamation, yo, how are you? Yo. Yo. I-O-U is yo. 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 Okay. Next, we have I-A-N. Now, I don't know why they did this, but they decided that they were going to go back on a few of their own rules that they set up with this. I-A-N is not pronounced yan. It is pronounced yen. E, long E, short E, and then the letter N. Yen. Yen. This one may take a little time for your eyes to remember. This is a situation where you're going to see an A, and you have to say it like an E. Unfortunately, there are a few situations in the course of learning Chinese where you will just have to memorize something. It will be, honestly, a little bit annoying because we are very used to, and we are, frankly, gifted with a lot of logical explanations to everything we do when we're going through an English education situation. This is one of those where we just have to memorize it. You just have to memorize it. I-A-N is pronounced, the A is pronounced like an E. So, yen, E-N, yen. Okay? Yes. I-A-N is pronounced yen, like the name of the Japanese currency, the yen. Yen. So I-A-N is pronounced like Y-E-N. Yen. Okay. Now, we're going to break that rule that we just set. I know. I'm sorry. This is the way it's done. I-A-N-G is pronounced young. Young. That A goes back to being an A. So we have I, which is pronounced like a double E, E, and then we have A being pronounced the way it should be pronounced, which is ah, open wide, ya, and then we just take an NG and stick it on the back. So we get young, young, young. It is said in English, the way we would write it would be Y-A-H-N-G. Young. So anytime you see I-A-N-G, what they're calling for is young. Okay, great job. Now we are on to I-N. Now once again, we know that I is pronounced like a double E. E, E. And so we need to take an N and kind of chop off a bit of that long E sound. So it becomes in, in, in. It's not going to be, the reflex you're going to have is you're going to want to say in, oh, like the color green. It's not that wide, okay? It's say green, and then take it and shrink it down a little bit. Like you put it in one of those, you're going on a long trip and you've got one of those roll-up vacuum bags that forces all the air out of your clothes so they can fit in your suitcase. It's kind of that process. Take it and compact it down a little bit more so it becomes yin, yin. What you'll notice is that my lips and my mouth, when I'm speaking the Mandarin syllables, they never go as wide as they do when I'm speaking English. And that is something you will experience and you should aim for across the board. When you are speaking Mandarin, you do not need to open your mouth as wide as you do for speaking English properly. This is just part of proper pronunciation. So when you are speaking Mandarin, just remember everything that you want to reflexively say, all the sounds that you want to reflexively say coming from English, take them and shrink them down about 30%. You don't need to, you're naturally going to want to make some pretty pronounced facial expressions. We don't think of them as pronounced, that's just the way we speak. But from a Mandarin perspective, they are rather pronounced. So we want to go through and we want to be saying these things the right way. So you reflexively, it's not yin, which we say from the kind of the throat and the top of our chest. It's yin, yin, and you'll feel it a little bit more kind of higher in your head. You might feel your nose vibrate a little bit when you say it the right way. But so take that double E, the N, and squish it. So it becomes yin, yin. You'll hear it. It feels kind of very quick and kind of clippy. Yin. Okay? Now we move on to ing. And as we've been doing throughout this whole process, we just remove the N and put an NG in its place. So it becomes iong, iong, iong. And again, you'll hear it's one of the naturally faster syllables that we have. You can't really draw it out because you say a Y and you hit the double E a little bit, but then you immediately dive into the NG sound. And it's just iong, iong. Okay? Now, the last one in the entire group of I-based sounds is I, O, and G. Now, we had before with I-O-U, it was the yo, it's been a long time, how are you? It's great to see you, yo. So we're just taking that yo and we're tacking an NG on the back of it. So we have yo, and now we have to, again, kind of abbreviate it, truncate it with an NG. Yong, yong, okay? Yong. So we have yo, which we all know how to say, and then we just chop it off a little bit in the back end with an NG. Yong, yong. Okay? We have done all of the I's. Great job. In my opinion, the I's are the hardest section. In particular, just getting I on its own figured out. It is going to take practice. In particular, when you get to pronouncing s, z, z, s, and zh, ch, sh, those ones are going to be different. Those are going to be ones where you just have to get in there and try it. There's never going to be a right way to do it. It's never going to feel super natural. You just have to hear it a bunch. And then along the way, maybe you're at home, maybe you're walking somewhere, just maybe saying it in your own head, just try it. Z, z, s, and zh, ch, sh. Okay? So we'll get to the consonants in a bit, but just z and r are the sounds. So we have e, z, r, which are the ways that we can say I. Great job. Next, we will be moving on to the U-based sounds.